Okay, hello doctor and assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Firdaus Muhammad Juan Fernando. My metric number is 2748559. So right now I will explain my part about introduction. So introduction for this paper is I think a study of how people should live. People have different views and belief about how they should live their life. Ethics is very important to be studied and understood by everyone because ethnic and racial issues are very important and very sensitive for most people. That's the reason why this paper is important to read and understand. And especially Malaysian population is made up of people of various race and ethnic. Like Malaysia are divided into three race, majority race like Malay, Chinese, and Indians. So in this paper, we'll describe more about the problem and its solution about race and ethnicity.
Hello, my name is Indira Cecilia with a metric number 274920. Talking about ethics, it's getting more and more diverse in its definition and also the field. In this discussion, we agree that as social beings, humans are not far from interacting with other humans. And this way of life requires humans to learn continuously, to understand and also know which is the right standard to judge what is moral. And ethics in the form of normative which produce true and false outputs, and of course ethical issue may arise. There is types of ethical issue that may arise, which is the first one is systemic. Ethical questions about the social, political, legal, or economic system within which companies operate. And the second one is corporate, which is the ethical questions about a particular corporation and its policies, culture, and also climate, impact, or actions. And the last one is individual, which is the ethical questions about a particular individual situation, behavior, and also the character. Apart from that, the discussion has the purpose of understanding how the ethics process can be formed and encourage personal ethics lesson as a preventive attitude to avoid such issues from happening again, and also create an environment that is accordant with moral and also the quality standards. As I said at the beginning, ethics is closely related to the relationship between humans as social beings. In case 1, we raise the relationship between humans in the professional world, namely the relationship between staff and the employer. In the headline, Fatin Ramli was promised by the employer that he would get a salary of 1,200 ringgit per month, but over time the wages received were only 1,000 ringgit per month. And moreover, she was required to work 12 hours per day, and it turns out that the salary is based on the discrimination. After being investigated, it turns out that the salaries in the company might be different based on the race, and some even get a salary of 1,400 ringgit per month. These employees complained about the issue to JPT. And apart from things that are not appropriate and also considered not in accordance with the community and work standards, which are defined as unethical actions, this has also been regulated in the Employment Act in Malaysia regulations. This case related directly to Section 233 Employment Act, which there is no official document signature process that discusses in the employment contract. And the second section is Section 60AB Employment Act. Employees are given working hours that are more than the standard, which 8 hours per day. And the third section is Section 12(1) Employment Act, constructive dismissal, no notice termination, and forced to quit the job. And its unethical action is conduct if an employer gives different salary range to employees in some position for no apparent reason such as capability, bonus, and etc. The second case relates to the professional work as well but focuses on dissatisfaction with social interaction that have a direct impact on job performance. One of the employees in Shopee sent a review in this page stating that the environment between employees in Shopee is not recommended because they find it hard to join the conversation with other Chinese employees, even if the leader is discriminating against employees who are not Chinese. This can be judged as racist, where anything that offends and has the potential to hurt others is considered not in accordance with the standard or unethical action. The difficulties felt by employers to get along with other employees to and supervisor because of racial inequality should not occur. If it is limited to the potential for development and learning in the world of work only because of distance. And apart from going against regulation or employment ethics, this is also considered as an ethical issue. And the last issue or the third issue that I've mentioned is we heard from one of the lecturers in the university who told us that There was a security guard who was mad at one of the male students because he wore earrings which were seen as marriage accessories, whereas on the other hand, these earrings are religious accessories of the male student. Things like this often happens because of several things. The first one may be unknowledge and the second one may be ignorance. The potential to hurt or offend a student or a certain race is very large, especially with his ruling attitude without asking first. And direct action of scolding and no attempt to understand beforehand is an act that is not in accordance with the standard or considered as unethical action. The ethical issues that arise here are also directly related to certain race or religions, which are beliefs which the ones of the main characters in the human perspective and are crucially related to ethics.
Okay, for the fourth issue is the dispute between a Chinese shop owner and Malay cell phone thief. And for the cases, there was an accident at a shopping center in Malaysia. Namely, there were two Malay men who were caught stealing at a cell phone shop belonging to a Chinese shop owner. But instead of those who were persecuted, they were defended by the most people, by Malay people who were in the shopping center, and the people in the social media too. And finally, the incident ended up with beating war. Most of the victims were the Chinese ethnic, namely the journalist, photographer, and even a visitor of the shopping center. So the issues is the majority oppress the minority. Whatever race and ethnicity that person is, if it's wrong, it should be punished according to applicable law instead of being protected because he is the majority and the victim who happen to be a minority is instead scapegoated and treated like a suspect. Okay, for the fifth issue is the speech from Mr. Mahathir bin Mohamad, who is considered racist because he said the chopstick is not a Malaysian identity. For the case is the incident where Mr. Mahathir bin Mohamad gave a speech that ethnic Chinese can adapt with Malaysian identity or Malaysian culture because they eat with chopstick instead use their hand. They maintain chopstick, which is not a Malaysian identity, and this is considered racist by most people. And for the issue a statement that could cause a commotion. As a person who is quite respected in Malaysia, Mr. Mahathir did not such did not use that issue to be a statement that will only create a commotion. And it will be a better if we give a speech that unites the nation, especially Malaysia is a country consisting of various ethnicities.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hi, my name is Ahmad Zuhikmi bin Zainul Abidin, and my metric number is 264824. Let's move into the what ethical concept that we can apply. First is utilitarianism concept. Founded by Jeremy Bentham, that describes utilitarianism is derived from the word utility, which means useful. This utilitarianism moral theory deals with a person's actions based on the purpose of maximizing happiness or pleasure. This concept also adheres to the principle that one should perform an action that will produce the best for each person, which is here happiness is meant to be pleasure, which is something that is not moral. However, this utilitarianism concept also has some weakness, which is the first one is the utilitarianism allows one to commit evil to achieve pleasure. The second is it's so difficult to measure of the quantity of one's pleasure and pain because some of different experience. And the third is this utilitarianism allows the right of certain minority groups to be sacrificed for majority interest. And everyone should form and follow a rules that will bring maximum good for everyone involved. The next is right and duties concept. Ethic is a natural habit that every society should have. A right is an expectation of something you are entitled to or a reasonable course of action based on legal or moral grounds. Humans have all kinds of rights, which is legal right, moral right, intellectual right, natural right, and fundamental right. Ethical behavior needs to recognize and respect the set of rights that everyone's, animals, or society have. And the duties is kind of result of accepting the right. Just as everyone has to define their rights, they must define or respect the rights of others. For example, everyone has a freedom of speech. So do you. You must accept it whatever, whether you like it or not. And also, this, the everyone should accept your right also.
The third point of ethical theories and concept can be applied is distributive justice. Distributive justice concerning more about equality and fairness. This justice also distribute benefits and burdens to individuals, meaning that this justice balancing the competing claims that are made by individuals. Distributive justice consists of justice as equality, justice as fairness, roles, and compensatory justice. The first one is justice as equality. This principle believes in egalitarianism, which also believes that all human beings are equal. Everyone deserves equal rights and opportunities. All people should be treated equally and no differences between people. As example, we can take from an issue where an employee has been neglected by leader just because they have different race and ethnicity. This issue should not happen in Malaysia, as we all know that we live in diversity and multicultural country. We need to tolerate each other. Second is justice as fairness that introduced by rules. This justice cover political, economic equality, ability, freedom, needs, minimum standards of living, and other in his justice as fairness. Rawls' idea of theory was founded on assumption that problems affecting justice should be resolved by establishing a fair way for selecting the principle that will be used to resolve the conflicts. As example, looking from discrimination in race and ethnicity, almost similar like cases as in previous point where discrimination in working place. This happened just because there are certain people being racist, especially when the employer or superior as a leader should show good ethical behavior towards the employee. This can cause decrease in work performance for someone, and that is why justice as fairness is important. Next is compensatory justice, which providing a funds to a victim of injustice to mitigate or reverse the impact of the wrong. This means that the wrongdoer must restore to a person what the person lost that are wronged by someone. Justice has required that the wrongdoer must restore whatever was taken even as far as possible. This means the compensation amount should be same and equal to the loss that wrongdoer has understood inflict on the victim. It is acceptable to receive monetary compensation as response to violence of justice, especially for distributive justice, as it speaks directly to the fundamental. As example, there is an issue where an employer give extra salary for employee with same race and less for the employee with different race, even though both workers are in the same position and doing the same work with same duration of working as well. So, this is totally not ethical in an organization to do so. The employee with different race who receive less salary than she must get should go for compensatory justice as she has been treated unfairly by the employer. Now, moving forward to the next point, which is ways to solve problem. The first point is utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a general term that has been held by any reviews that actions and regulations that should be assessed on the basis of benefits and costs will be affected on society. Furthermore, the issue in discrimination that involving race and ethnicity, as has been stated above in this study, one of the discrimination issue here in our country is that had happened in workplace. For example, who is always neglected by the employee just because of different races. This is not fair, and the employer needs to change their attitude and perceptions to its employees with different races. Everyone in an organization should be treated fair without any discrimination. This is important not only to individuals but also easy for the company to create a positive organizational culture. Thus, this will lead to success in achieving organizational goals. However, if the employer or the leaders refuse to change his or her attitude, then the victim or injustice has the right to do the report and action will be taken by the responsible firm.
So the next ethical theory that can be applied in these issues is rights and duties theory. For example, an entitlement derived from a legal system that allows or empowers a person to act in a specific manner or requires others to respond in a specific manner toward that person. So, when the seller in the Shopee gets unfairly treated by another sellers and their leader who is Chinese as well, so this issue shows how racist and selfish someone can be when it comes to helping people in business industry. So as a human being who should have the feeling of compassion, the co-workers should lend their hand in helping and treating the seller fairly, although he is not a Chinese as they are. Besides, for the leader, it is their duty to guide their subordinates so that they will not feel lost in their job. In my humble opinion, the unfairly treated seller can claim his rights and voice out his opinions on the grounds of the rights and duties ethics theory. So he can make a complaint or claim the co-workers, including the leaders, under the right law. Based on the third issue, we can apply justice as an equality theory. This principle believes in egalitarianism, which means it believes that all human beings are equal and everyone deserves equal rights and opportunities. So this includes all people should be treated in the same way and equals, and everyone can enjoy equality in daily life. So, in this issue, to relate it to this issue, no matter what races you are, we should treat them equally and should respect their tradition no matter what, since we in Malaysia are living with many different races and religions. So, this student in the third issue has every right to voice out his opinion and to defend himself to not take off his earrings, although the security guard forced him to do so, and the security guard should not have to force him doing it in the first place. So for the fourth issue, justice as fairness, Rawls can be applied here. Rawls' idea of the theory was founded on the assumption that problems affecting justice should be resolved first by establishing a fair way for selecting the principles that will be used to resolve the conflicts. The people in the shopping center and people in social media should have been rational in viewing this issue so that a fair justice can be given to those who deserve it, which is the seller who is the victim. Same as in the last issue, in which Mr. Mahathir gave a speech, he should have given an apology statement for mentioning about the racism in his speech to maintain his reputation and to keep the harmony of people in our state. So, he should be making an official apology statement so that there will be no misunderstanding in the future. The compensatory justice theory is also applicable in some of the cases that happen in the accident mentioned above. Compensatory justice is when the wrongdoer must restore to a person what the person lost, which they were wronged by someone. Justice has required that the wrongdoer must restore whatever was taken even as far as possible, because this will basically mean the compensation amount should be same and equal as to the loss that wrongdoer has understood inflict on the victim. So, compensatory justice is suitable to be applied in issue 1 and issue 4. As for the first issue, the worker could claim his rights under this theory and the employer should compensate him in order to remedy his loss. And the employer should pay him for his surplus salary that has not been paid to him, like other employees who are getting biased treatment by their employers. Same as issue 4, when the thief stole in the shopping center, they should return the cell phone that they stole or compensate the seller by giving money the same as the amount on the cell phone that they stole.
Okay, for the conclusion part, in conclusion, as been elaborated above that how important ethnic are in our communication, especially when we talk and do things in public, because not everyone can accept what we say, especially if all youths to certain the ethnicities and race. In addition, for the case study above, it can also be concluded that regardless of race, whatever ethnicity, and we as fellow human beings should be treated equally, no matter where we come from, because mutual respect is obligatory for fellow human beings. And finally, we hope this paper can be useful for readers and can take the good side of this paper and make lesson of the negative things in this paper. Thank you, Doctor, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Next is what ethical lesson that we can learn from the case. What we can learn from this case are the first is equality and the second is fairness. Equality in society means that everyone is the same despite differing in terms of race, religion, skin color, gender, individual rights, and so on. The case is when the dispute happened between Chinese, which is the shop owner, and Malays, which is thief. The people is backing up the thief, which is the offender, although they are guilty. This case taught us that we should treat people equally and don't take an advantage being a majority to discriminate the minority. Existing in an environment that accepts equality will further ensure a comfortable and conducive environment, and most importantly, be able to accept and celebrate the differences of all. Next is fairness, which is refers to everyone has their own rights, and no one has the right to prevent someone from obtaining their rights. The case when the manager has fired his or her employee because that employee is claiming his or her right. We can learn that the manager is unfairly treat his or her employees. People who feel unfairly treated in the workplace can suffer, while those who feel they are well serviced by their boss or organization are often motivated to work at a higher level. That's all from me. Thank you.